you guys. Paula?
Hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Paula.
And this is correct. 1974 is what it says on the front of that T-shirt. Okay, 45 years of honky tonkin'. Yeah, one of the best known bands in the entire state and best loved bands in the entire state, Sin City.
You're hired.
I'm going to remind you again, sit here so that they're facing the camera. Sit next to the camera.
Gotcha. There we go. All right.
Even like here.
Come on, to the corner.
Yeah.
Okay. There we go.
Okay. That's
Okay.
better.
Got those faces. All right. Now, you guys are some of the nicest guys in the world. Where did you get the name Sin City?
It's from a Flying Burrito Brothers song from their first album, The Gilded Palace of Sin. And the song is representative in the Smithsonian Archives.
Wow.
Written by Chris Hillman and Graham Parsons. Chris always mentions that in interviews. He's very proud of that. As representative of country music, I guess. But I had thought the song was about Las Vegas because they call it Sin City, but it's really about Los Angeles. I've read it in
Really about
interviews. Really about LA. But over the years, people have come up to us and say, "Oh, you're from Jacksonville. Oh, you're from Boulder. Oh," because everybody calls their town Sin City. So
It seems to me that Las Vegas has an oldies area too for oldsters, like I don't know if it was a hotel or an area that they call Sin City, and that was a joke.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was a joke. Well, you three faces are
That's
kind of a joke.
If we know it was going to be 45 years, I think we'd have called it something else. You know,
got ya.
don't know what.
Well, this isn't the whole band,
No.
but of course, Scott Burney here in the middle, okay, Steve Hobson, who is so nice and so kind that he still gets Stevie once in a while. That's the affectionate version, okay? And over here, Mr. Dave Barry.
Yeah.
Okay, who are we missing? Who else?
Jimmy Ficca, our drummer, and Alan Berdelay, our pedal steel guitarist. So here we are at Argilla's, where we play every Monday from 6 to 9, and we always play as a 5-piece. And so those two fellas couldn't swing coming in here today.
Got ya.
So-
Well, anybody who hasn't seen you lately needs to come out to Argilla's every Monday night from 6 to 9
Yes.
and enjoy the heck out of your being here. And as Dave Barry puts on Facebook every week, every Monday night forever.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Monday night forever.
We're pleased, so pleased to be able to have this little residency here. You know, you dream of a gig like this. They have all the equipment here, and we kind of just come in and fine tune it, and we're ready to go. It's wonderful. They take good care of us.
That's fabulous, and I know they feel the same way about you. Well, what inspired you guys to get into music?
Mom and Dad both. Mom and Dad used to have Burl Ives records.
Oh, wow.
They had Ema Sumac records.
Ema
They
Sumac.
had so many strange, wonderful things to listen to. All the classics.
Yeah, I was, my older sister was taking piano lessons, and I wanted to take piano lessons because she did. I was like 7. I started taking, so my parents got me piano lessons, and I don't know, I just kept playing. Then when the Beatles came out, of course I wanted to play the guitar, and that's when I really got into it, you know.
Okay.
And that's about it,
And the rest is history.
sort of, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. How about you, Scott?
Well,
Family?
records were all around the house all the time. Harry Belafonte, Tom Lear, Kingston Trio, and I really loved The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet. When Ricky Nelson would sing at the end of the episodes, do that slow blink, and James Burton was bopping behind him, and then that all got sealed when the Beatles came on Ed Sullivan. It was boom, off to the races, and And like these guys, my parents were very supportive and bought me my first instrument, you know, a terrible guitar from Sears, and you know, and my dad played a little bit, so he said, well, if you can stay with a guitar this bad for a couple of years, we'll get you a better one day.
Was it good, better, or best?
It was a Silvertone.
Remember
And-
Sears catalog? It was good, better, best.
all those Silvertone guitars were, you know, he played Hawaiian guitar, and when he bought me a new nylon string Sears guitar, much easier to play, he took my old one, and he didn't have to put a nut to raise the strings off the fretboard to play it with a slide. It was already so
It's already
high.
so high.
He said, wow, you've been playing this all this. I said, yeah, Dad, come on.
I remember I had a Dan Electro guitar, which would probably cost $30, and a Silvertone amp. They're my first electric instruments. And I remember waking up in the middle of the night just looking at them. And I thought it was so cool.
The best looking
Oh,
things.
wow.
Yeah.
It was just so cool.
I used to do that. I would just put my guitar at the end of the chair at the end of the bed and just look at it till I fell asleep.
Oh, man.
Couldn't play a note.
But
Just,
you knew you were cool.
Just thought, wow, look how cool that looks.
Absolutely.
And I still play my dad's guitar that he
That's
bought
right.
in 1955, the Martin 015.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
It
yeah.
still works. And
A Martin
I love it when he brings that
015.
little thing out.
Wow.
It sounds so good. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's going back some.
it is.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. Well, I know your dad wasn't the only musician in your family.
No, Mom.
Mr. Hobson, your mom, fabulous
Singer,
writer,
dancer, and
beautiful, and a dancer.
Yeah.
started writing songs in her, I guess, her mid 70s. And we still do some of those.
We do some of Stella's songs. She was so encouraging to us as a band too when she first met us, and
That's great.
would send little postcards of encouragement. Was so sweet.
She never sent me one.
No, I think she had a daily contact with you.
She was like one of the nicest people in the world.
Oh yeah.
Steve's mom was just a sort of a dynamic force too. You know,
Yeah.
real outgoing ballet dancer,
Oh, man.
artistic,
Yeah.
and
Very
Wow.
spiritual,
Really
always seeking.
We call her our spiritual den mother.
yeah.
There you go. Boy, that's much better than the lady who always puts coffee on. Yeah, absolutely. That's so neat that you had that. I know you did a CD, Steve, with your mother's songs, or
Right.
most of your mother's songs. Yeah, everybody, if you're coming out to see them, don't neglect to request Steve to sing one of his mama's songs.
Oh, yes.
Be friendly, we
They're-
do that.
We do that all the time,
Yes.
and All Alone Me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. That's so neat that you still have it.
Well, one day when we recorded Stella in the studio singing "Be Friendly" on our album, our kids all went in the same day, and so in one day we had Stella, our major influence, and then our kids doing a song backing us up on the first song I ever wrote. And they were all junior high age at that time and
Wow.
went on to become the Spinto Band, played with us at our 45th anniversary.
And they were fabulous.
And they're wonderful. They're excellent. Stevie's two sons are in it, and my son and two stepsons put it together. And Stevie went to Europe with them on a trip to play guitar with them, and they've done beautifully. They're kind of on hold now. They're all having babies, and
Yes, they get in the way.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's they've retired before we did, but.
Temporarily.
Temporarily, we hope. You know,
Yeah.
they're wonderful.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't realize that every one of them was related. I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
very cool.
Yeah, no, they've all grown up together, playing in our basements when they were little. And I remember all of a sudden I was listening in the kitchen saying, "They sound pretty good." You know,
all
they
right.
kind of crossed that line.
Yeah, did they
And-
play the high school things
They
for a
played
while?
Battle of the Bands, and they were
Yes.
always proud that they got second. And then we got them to play with us at the East End Cafe on our residency that we played there on Fridays. And after about the fourth or fifth month of them coming out to play, suddenly I pull in the driveway and there's a line of kids out the door waiting to get in, and I realized we were going to go on first. We were going to open for them.
Yes, yes, you were going to open for them. That's great. That's fabulous. Well, as you moved in, as you settled into your choice of musical instruments, who in the celebrity world, were your inspirations?
Good question.
Well, all the greats, I would say.
there's so many.
You know,
If
in
you
each
had to pick
genre, there, you
two or
know,
three.
Hank Williams and Johnny Cash and Willie Nelson, and then of course the Beatles and the whole British invasion with Animals and Zombies and all the great bands in the '60s and Motown and you know, gospel and just and we love every genre. You know,
Yeah.
we hate to be pigeonholed or you know, Duke Ellington said there are two kinds of music, good and bad, and we like to concentrate on the good.
Yeah, we like all those guys. Miles Davis, Pat Martino, Randy Newman,
Yeah.
John Lennon.
When Jerry Kirk
Bob
joined our
Dylan.
band, he had been playing with a jazz band, so when he joined our band, he all of a sudden wanted to put kicks in and jazz it up a little bit, you know,
Yeah.
kind of, which was great. And he was, even though Stevie and Dave both knew all that stuff, I would borrow Jerry's records and listen to Monk and Mose Allison and Miles Davis,
Wow.
all these great classic jazz guys. And Jerry was a very good influence on us. And he was only for about 3 years or so, and he went back to jazz.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
And blues.
And blues, jazz and blues, yeah.
So if someone who doesn't know you, that would have to be somebody from California. If someone who doesn't know you says, what kind of music does your band play? What's your response?
Everything.
Yeah, all kinds, you know.
Americana.
Yeah, Americana is the term. When we first started in '74, country rock was the term that people called Loggins and Messina, and the Eagles were just coming
yeah.
out, and Poco and Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, and all these bands were classified as country rock. And so that phrase went kind of right up to the urban cowboy period, and then kind of outlaw music and you know, Willie
Yeah.
and Waylon and that kind of thing was sort of happening. But Americana seems to be as good a term as any, because it sort of encompasses
It is encompassing.
everything, you know, roots and all that stuff.
Yeah, I've got you. Okay, you mentioned something about Pogo, and it put me in mind of a story that I've heard you tell, and I hope you will again.
Oh.
Just recently, you were looking at a video.
You
that
were
we did.
interviewing the fellas from Saco, who we knew very well, and you had on a computer from Boston, I think, or from New England, Dennis Lovelace,
Yes.
who was a roadie for Saco. His brother Mark Lovelace was the drummer in Shaky Jake and Saco. They had all Taxi.
Right.
They had all different names, but Mark Lovelace was the drummer, and there's a fella named Will McConnell who was a big. His dad was, you know, William Tyler McConnell or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
After the bridge.
After the bridge, or before
Probably
the bridge,
before the bridge,
before
yeah.
the bridge. And they, Will would finance, very wealthy, would finance bands. And after Saco broke up, I was dating a girl, Esty,
Yeah.
and she knew Will. And so she approached Will and said, my boyfriend's band is going to move to New Hampshire. Do you have any equipment that they could rent or borrow? So he gave us, we were a country rock band, and he gave us all of Saco's Marshall amps. And, I mean, stacks of Marshall amps, and Saco's roadie. He gave us Dennis
Wow.
Lovelace. So we moved up to Henniker, New Hampshire, as Dennis recounted on the interview you did. And you know, he's coming from heavy metal. He's coming from Saco.
Right.
And we were literally doing a lot of Poco. We had harmonies and a real country rock sound, which he did not go for. And he helped us set up our studio in a barn and help oversee the equipment until we replaced it with the smaller things that we needed. And he left and joined Aerosmith. He left
Wow.
and moved over to Boston. We only had him for about 3 or 4 months. He was so great. He was a real professional, hard-working road guy, which I had never experienced anybody like that who actually knew what they were doing.
Right.
You know, driving a truck and setting up amps and that kind of thing. And we had jobs. We were playing the ski resorts up in the White Mountains in that area, where Stevie was working at the same time with his band Energy.
Ah.
But yeah, so and Dennis, and it was such a hoot. Over the years, I'd be in touch with him every now and again. I think 30 years ago was the last time he gave me a call just to touch base. And so seeing him on the on that interview for the Delaware Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Dennis, it's Scott over here. And he says, oh, I went up with a band, a Poco kind of band up to New Hampshire, Henniker, New Hampshire, I think it was. It wasn't my cup of tea. And I'm saying, you hated us! You hated us!
Love it. Love it. Well,
So hi, Dennis.
here we go. And as you're talking about some of these people who have played with you, a lot of whom are still playing. That's, you know, a true musician, they never lose the heart. That's for sure.
It's a sickness.
Who have the other members of your band been? Who come and gone and moved on to other things?
Andy Eaton was a long time pivotal guy who's down in Nashville now. We just had our 45th anniversary, and Andy came, and Tim Davis, who I played with in high school, he helped start the band in New Hampshire. Bobby Bloomingdale, who's right there with the Bullets, but he comes and fills in with us a lot, and he was a great addition to the band. He and Jimmy Ficca joined the same day, and they share a birthday.
Yeah.
So the secret to a great rhythm section. But
Yeah, John DiGiovanni on
Yeah.
drums,
Oh, wow.
Glenn Vernon on drums.
Oh, my.
yeah, Jerry Kirk on bass, great Jerry Kirk.
Glenn had a brother.
Gary.
Gary.
Did he play as well?
He never played with us.
Only on my wedding.
Yeah, that's right. Stevie hired him to play one song so Stevie could dance with his wife at the Guildhall.
Yeah.
And then Gary got off stage and Stevie jumped back on. So,
Wow. Wow.
you remember what song?
No?
Gypsy Wagons.
Oh, okay. A slow one.
A slow one. Had to be a slow one.
Sure. Sure, everybody wants to watch.
Which we still play. We can play it tonight.
There you go.
Yeah.
And my grandmother was up for several numbers with her handkerchief.
Oh, she was on the dance floor, and after Stevie did a slide solo, she'd come back and say, "Steven, play more Hawaiian."
Oh, that's great. Now, is this your mother's mother?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so they got it. She got it honestly,
Yeah.
or was
Oh,
passed
yes.
down
She
honestly.
lived to 100. She was
Wow.
forced too.
Wow. Well, in those travels and as these players came and went, and I credit you guys for being the most welcoming band. Anybody who comes in who is a recognizable musician and you know can play more than 3 notes, you know, you'll include them. And that's so wonderful. That's so wonderful. And it keeps your audience coming back.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Sure.
So what was the funniest thing? The funniest or most outrageous
Well,
kind of memory that
Dave might not like me to remind him of this, but we were playing a club in New Jersey in Cherry Hill, and Dave used to face the wall when he played piano so it wouldn't feed back. And we were playing, and our bass player Jerry had something to eat that didn't agree with him,
Oh, no.
so he ran off the stage and went to the bathroom, and we finished the song, and I thought, well, we better keep going. They're all dancing, and I called out to Dave, play Route 66, and he starts playing Route 66, and we go through that, and then at the end of the song, Dave finally turns around and goes, hey, where's Jerry?
Or literally the music had stopped, so it was vocal. Yeah, it
I
just
remember him actually playing the song
Oh, no.
Caving off
I
to the
just-
side.
Oh, geez.
The show must go
The show
on.
must go on. Oh, my
It was
goodness.
amazing.
And another story that Dave may not want me recounting is we had an
You're
old
the
school.
hero.
We had an
Yes.
old school bus, and we traveled to Colorado twice and New England 3 or 4 times, and we would switch drivers while the buses tooling couldn't go faster than 50.
Oh,
So
geez.
the driver would get out and the next guy would get in, and we wouldn't even have to pull over. And so we were teaching Dave how to drive and double clutch and drive this school
Oh,
bus.
man.
And so he's driving along and he's doing fine, and he's, but we come up to a toll. And so
Oh,
Dave has
no.
to downshift for the very first time
Right.
to stop to get a ticket here at this toll. And we're chugging through this toll thing, and we're all looking about what's going. We're not stopping. All of a sudden, the ticket came flying through the window. The toll person just threw it through his open window.
Oh, wow.
Never did stop.
That's great. Have you guys ever had to cancel a gig?
Oh, sure. I think we probably have. Well, I had a heart attack, and the show kept on going. Nobody stopped. They didn't miss a beat.
Maybe some weather-related events would stop.
Yeah.
Okay. Colorado?
Yeah, well, Colorado, I don't think we canceled anything in Colorado. Of course, out there, they drive through everything.
Oh, yes.
No guardrails on the mountain roads and the mountain passes, and
We canceled a few right here.
well, we did cancel one during an ice storm last winter. It was a little too icy for us old timers to. And Pete was still, oh, come on, you guys. I'm looking at people; they're barely slipping out here.
Yeah, barely slipping.
Barely
On the
slipping.
flat
Oh, right,
section.
right.
Yes, absolutely.
But we don't like to cancel.
No.
No.
Oh, of course
No,
not.
we don't like to
Of
cancel.
course not.
We want that $20 come free.
I understand.
The kids don't eat tonight.
Kids don't eat tonight.
Right. Yep, gotta buy that oatmeal. Yep, absolutely. So, you started out saying some of the people who played with you. I know when we looked at the pictures that are in the Newark Historical Museum, the old train station, the pictures that you sent us, there's one, and there's 16 people, I think. I remember it being 16 people.
Yeah.
Who, can
Well,
you...
Baird
you remember?
Brittingham, who lives in California, was in the group.
George, your buddy George.
George Kelly, who came all the way from Detroit to play at our reunion,
Yes.
he was a guitarist before Stevie in New Hampshire, and he played with us since 1975. Great guitarist, a great blues-oriented guy who has two really nice CDs out. He's kept playing. Gosh, Phil O'Reilly, who's since passed on, he was our steel guitarist. We called him Dr. Casual. We all had nicknames at one time.
And what were yours?
Well, I think Dave, he was Davy Dewdrop.
Right.
Davy Dewdrop. I was Sam Saddle. Steve was Steve the Weave.
Oh, jeez. And you still have hair.
Horse feet. Yes.
Yeah, that's no weave.
I know.
And oh gosh, Baird was the Horseshoe Kid. Phil was Dr. Casual. Timmy was Rufus Buck.
Oh my goodness.
I think we may have called Andy Stringbean for a short period of time.
Yeah, that would fit.
Uh-huh.
That would fit. What do your wives do on Monday night?
They enjoy themselves.
Oh, geez.
They love it. Yeah. They love it.
Watch whatever they want.
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
Eat the last of the pie.
They-
Yeah.
My wife is home having a fresh garden salad out of the garden, the first lettuce out of the garden.
Oh,
So
congratulations.
thank you. She's putting that together. Yeah. So, but Mary comes out every now and again.
Yeah, she meets her sister and brother-in-law.
Okay. They come in a blood.
I actually met her at the Blue Boar, at a bar.
Oh my goodness, here at the Blue Boar Inn. Yeah.
in Arden.
Great bar
Oh.
in Arden.
She
Yeah.
followed us for a little while, then kind of stopped.
Okay.
Well, they all do that.
Sure.
I'm not coming out here those same songs again.
One of my friends who has a spouse who plays in a band and has played for a while says don't expect anything because I'm not a good groupie. There you go. After a while,
That's
like
right.
you said, same old songs. You've heard them. You've heard them.
That's
you've heard 'em.
right.
But I've seen all of your wives,
Yeah.
come down
show
and,
up now.
and enjoy
Well, all
the.
you have to do to get my wife out is put the Spinto band on the bill.
Oh yeah,
And
that's her
she's
baby.
there. She's up front. Yeah.
Absolutely, I love it. What's it mean to you guys to be in the Delaware Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? You're among the first inductees.
Oh,
Great honor.
it's a great honor. My daughter was there last July, front row. Vicki was Dave's wife, saved my wife and Annie a seat in the front row, so she was there. It was a great honor. Timmy Davis came down from Cape Cod to be inducted, and we were truly humbled and really went in with some great Teddy and the Continentals. There's just sort of the Watson brothers with the Meltons and Larry Tucker and Lisa Jack. I mean, it was a great honor for us
Wow.
to be included.
Wow. We're
Yeah.
so glad to hear that. Because
Yeah.
we just,
Oh.
you were the very first band who said, we'll help you do a fundraiser. And you guys not only helped us do a fundraiser, you gave us your paycheck for that day.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
you continued to say to people, there's a bucket up here. If you can't give $20 to help, you got a buck, put it in.
Sure.
Put a couple in. And
a great thing.
we have been forever grateful. And when I get frustrated with what I'm doing, I flash on you guys
Oh.
and, your positivity and always want to applaud it.
Well, we have a tip jar out here every Monday night, and we like to quote Hank Williams. He says, "We don't need the money ourselves, but the people we owe it to seem to enjoy getting it when we can get it."
Getting paid. I love it. Okay. I hope everybody keeps coming out Monday nights forever.
Thank you so much, Paula.
You are welcome. And as I opened by saying, I think I did, everywhere I go, everybody knows Sin City. They know you from the Crab Shack in
Oh, yes.
Newark.
Oh, yes.
They know you from the university. You probably played what's the little club? What's the place downstairs? It was
The
upstairs.
Down Under, or the
Rathskeller.
Rathskeller.
No,
I was thinking about
well,
the
the
U
Phoenix
and D.
Coffee House. We love the
Prime
old
Times.
Phoenix.
It
And
was
of course,
great.
Bill Stevenson was wonderful booking us at the Stone Balloon on those off Monday nights with Snake Grinder and all the different original hippie bands that weren't the club bands. He gave us a great venue and got to play on a big stage and all our parents used to come see us there, and so Bill was very helpful in the early days.
I have a question or two. So this is actually the second time we did this interview. Something happened to the camcorder. We lost it. I know we talked about some of the places that you guys played at the clubs that are no longer with us.
Yeah.
And if there's any other questions that we asked you the first time you remember,
We can't.
but tell me about the clubs.
Well, Stevie mentioned the Blue Boar Inn,
Yep.
the Buggy Tavern where we first met Steve, and there were before that there were coffee houses, the Side Door, Eat at Joe's. Eat at Joe's on the intersection. It's the YWCA in Newark on Apple Road. We played there, but Romel's
Fairfax.
in Fairfax.
Yeah.
Gosh,
There's a million.
Glass Mug in
Place
Newark.
out on Route
Crab
110.
Shack.
There was the Barnwood Tavern,
Barnwood Tavern, yeah.
Hermione's?
Anvil Inn, the Turk's Head Turk's Head Tavern up in Westchester,
Yeah.
the cabarets, the Westchester Cabaret,
There one called the
Tally
Back Door
Ho.
up on
We really,
Lieutenant.
there was such, and the Melton Brothers were very instrumental with Fine Times magazine and the Crepe Chalet that the Eatons kind of ran, the Salad Cellar, the Flight Deck, all these great bars that you can play sometimes from Tuesday through Saturday.
What did they call it when they closed Market Street?
The outdoor cabarets.
Yeah,
Well, the outdoor cabarets,
Yeah.
we played those. They were very good to us, the Mountains, and the great one when Johnny Neal, who's going into the Hall of Fame this next induction, they were playing and they hit a solo and the spotlight went up on the balcony of the Grand Opera House, and there's Wayne Beardwood wired up doing a solo with the spotlight on him on the balcony at the Grand Opera House. Chilling. It was excellent. 10,000 people down in the, the Hooters played there, Robert Hazard. A lot of the Philly acts would come down and play those cabarets. Tom Larson Blues Band, Centerpiece.
There are a lot of places to play back.
And there's so many places to play.
Like J.C. Dobbs.
J.C. Dobbs, Grendel's Lair. We played with the Watsons. We took a busload of people up to the Bijou Cafe, which was a wonderful little spot up in Philadelphia. Second, the place second in Bainbridge, Stars, that Stephen Stars had, and just so many great places to play and still come home and spend the night in your own bed.
Yes.
We did a little bit of road work, not like Stevie did in New Hampshire and New England, but we went out to Colorado and up to New England and played a while doing road work. We'd go down to Baltimore and Washington.
We played a lot of weddings.
Tons
We
of
played
weddings.
every kind of gig.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a wedding once where the mother of the bride was really mad that our name was Sin City?
Yeah,
Man?
we had to-
really upset.
Yeah. She said, I need to tell my friends something other than Sin City. Can I call you the Scott Burney Orchestra? And I said, I like the sound of that. Sure, let's call it that.
She thought,
I just
we'd
can't
be
call them
a
Sin
heavy
City.
metal band or something, and that's us,
Yeah,
just playing.
yeah, yeah.
Well, we will always call it Sin City because that's what it has
It's a
been.
family name.
So Crabmeat, my friend Crabmeat tells me that in the 80s he was able to play 3 or 4 nights a week, get paid a couple $100 each place, and make a living
Oh
doing
yes,
that.
oh yes. He was on the circuit.
Yeah.
he was certainly. And,
So
and
did you guys-
We were 5 and 6 pieces.
Oh, so you.
Trying to spread the money out.
Right.
He was one man show.
Right, yes.
And he did great.
Yeah.
On the beach, of course, the Bottle and Cork and the Country Squire and Fagan's Island. We didn't play like Mark Keneally did, but we played a lot of places down at the beach.
So did you make a living doing this, or you always had jobs?
Well, it was, we would go in and out of having jobs.
Yeah.
But
I see Brandywine Country Club here at the church.
Oh my God. I don't know where that came from.
Speaking of defunct places that you
that came from the Sin City Lost and Found.
That's actually south. I don't know what that is.
God, yeah.
So if I remember correctly, the question we had last time, your real jobs, you were a computer, or
Yeah, computer IT guy,
you're an IT guy?
hardware, software.
And where have you worked?
Wang Laboratories was my first big job.
Yeah.
And Counterpoint Software for Alan Yanziak.
Yeah, we all worked for
Worked
Alan.
at Everfast, which is Calico.
So Alan Yanziak of saxophone,
Yes.
Yeah.
Rocket
That's
88
right.
fame, and the numbers.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I worked for Bobby Bloomingdale framing pictures. It's always good if you can work for another musician.
Right.
Because he needs the time off the same time you do. So I framed pictures for a little while at Bloomingdale's Art World and managed Wonderland Records for Larry Fenza and BC at the Pike Creek Shopping Center. I was there when records switched to CDs, and I was among the ones who said this is a fad like 8-track, it'll never last. and now vinyl has come
You're
back.
right. It didn't last.
Well, I was right. I also said that stereo would never last. Give me mono.
Wow. Oh, wow.
If God wanted us. Oh, wait a second.
That's right.
Well, a lot of albums get re-released in mono because
Yeah.
the Beatles and Dylan and all those folks mixed their albums for the mono stereos, the mono hi-fi setup, and then they would just put stereo. They just do it real quick and put guitars on one side and voices on the other. The Beatles didn't pay attention. The White Album came out in mono, mono and stereo.
Okay.
But I remember my brother had the mono Sgt. Pepper's, and they would release the stereo like a week or two later. And he was saving up for the stereo Sgt. Pepper. He said, only 3 more days till I'm getting the stereo. We had the mono one too, but I still love mono, which all the old Byrds albums have been re-released in mono. So yeah.
The mono hasn't held up well for the